An elderly woman is riding an escalator holding a red box. Somewhere else, a newly wedded couple gets out of a car and goes to an elevator. In the present, a man named Carlos waits for the elevator to reach his floor. When he gets inside his apartment, his brother greets him. Carlos asks what happened, but his brother couldn't explain what, and instead he keeps reassuring Carlos that he didn't do anything. The brother, who speaks with a stutter, is clearly anxious. Carlos keeps asking about the situation, and his brother starts saying sorry over and over, leaving Carlos confused.
Perdóname, güey.
Carlos tells him he won't be mad because the day calls for celebration. He got the money and they don't have to live like they were living before, but his brother Oliver couldn't focus on anything. Carlos reveals that their mother lent him the money. Oliver briefly stops panicking and processes what his brother said, but quickly he goes back to pacing and repeatedly apologizing, thinking he messed up.
Perdóname. Perdóname.
Before Carlos can make sense of it, another man steps in and reveals he's a detective. He pulls out a gun and explains that Oliver has confessed to something serious. Carlos tried to intervene, explaining that whatever Oliver had said, they could all clear it up. But the detective wants to take them to the station.
Lo que estoy haciendo es mi trabajo.
Oliver attempts to explain that the detective threatened to kill their mom. The detective, ignoring Oliver, tells Carlos he also has witnesses and video proof. At this, Oliver lunged at him to attack. Carlos tries to stop him, but then finally, scared of being taken away, the brothers attack the detective and flee the apartment. Carlos quickly grabs his backpack as they escape down the stairwell. But their run doesn't last long. Carlos is shot in the leg, bringing both of them to a stop. The detective stares at his own weapon in shock, as if unsure how things escalated, then lets it fall from his hand. Suddenly, a distant explosion echoes through the building, followed by a sharp cry from Carlos. The sound pulls the detective out of his daze. He quickly retrieves his gun and forces the brothers to move.
No le va a pasar nada.
When they reach the ground floor, the detective notices more stairs continuing downward. Irritated and confused, he mutters about how strange the building layout is and keeps descending. He counts the floors as he goes. 9, 8, 7, then unexpectedly lands back on 9 again. No matter how far they go, there seems to be no bottom.
Insisto, este edificio está muy confuso. No hay salida.
Carlos begins to wonder if the bullet wound is making him hallucinate. Meanwhile, the detective, Marco, grows paranoid, convinced the brothers must have slipped him some kind of drug. Fed up, he orders them to stay put and rushes off down the stairs by himself. But when he circles back, only to find the brothers standing exactly where he left them, he finally realizes something is deeply wrong. They're caught in a loop. As the weight of the situation starts to sink in, Oliver becomes overwhelmed, not just by the strange reality around them, but by the sight of Carlos fading fast from blood loss. He attempts to open the elevator by force, growing increasingly desperate, but to no avail. Marco, finally tired of trying, asks what is going on, but no one has a solution either. Marco throws a key down the stairs and they wait to hear the sound of it falling down. But instead, the key falls from above. At this, Marco panics even further and takes out his gun, threatening the brothers to tell him what they dragged him with.
Contésteme, ¿con qué me drogaron?
Oliver explains they are also trapped like him and starts screaming for help. Then he sits by Carlos, but they couldn't have a calm conversation as both are shaken by what is happening and by Carlos's wound.
Oliver, ¿te acuerdas del laberinto de Acatlán, eh? Cuando...
Marco breaks the vending machine and takes out a water. Oliver quickly snatches the water from his hand to clean Carlos's wound. Marco finally comes to help Carlos. He helps Oliver tie Carlos's wound. As they talk, Marco tells Oliver that he didn't mean to shoot anyone, and it almost looks like some force made him do it. But Oliver doesn't believe him.
Otra vez con esa
A ver,
chingadera.
escúchame, por
¿Que la
favor.
pistola se disparó sola?
Escúchame.
Sometime later, Oliver and Marco sit to talk while Carlos is sleeping. Marco shares that it is his 15-year wedding anniversary, and he was supposed to go out for dinner with his family. Oliver, still angry about the gunshot, tells him if something happens to his brother, he will kill his family. After this, Oliver takes the things out of Carlos's bag. Carlos finally wakes up and calls Oliver. Carlos starts telling him things that don't make sense. He then starts talking as if he is saying goodbye.
Y lo que pasamos ya no regresa.
Shortly after, Carlos passes out. Oliver cries looking at his brother. Meanwhile, Marco notices that the food he ate from the vending machine has reappeared and panics.
La pinche comida volvió a aparecer.
Oliver, hurt by the death of his brother, runs to Marco and takes his gun. He points it at Marco to get his revenge.
Contra la pared, cabrón.
Elsewhere in the city, a man named Roberto is spending time with a young girl, playing with her, while a boy nearby is absorbed in his own activities. After some time, the boy Daniel goes downstairs to play the piano. His mother Sandra comes and tells him they need to leave.
Roberto, ¿me ayudas con las maletas, porfa?
Roberto follows Sandra to the kitchen. He then shares his worry about her ex-partner. The family is going on a road trip. Roberto doesn't like the kids going to their father once they reach their destination. Sandra reassures him that everything will be fine.
Y tú eres el hombre más cariñoso que existe.
The family finally takes off. A few hours into their journey, they stop at a gas station for a break. While waiting for Sandra to finish using the restroom, Roberto engages with Camilla in a light conversation, trying to win her over. Sandra calls for Camilla to go use the restroom as well. Camilla goes to her mother, and shortly after, Sandra comes, scolding Roberto for giving Camilla a sugary drink. She tells him it might trigger her asthma.
Sí, no sabía. Ni un segundo, ni un pinche segundo te puedo dejar con ellos.
Later, back on the road, panic sets in. Camilla begins wheezing uncontrollably, an asthma attack triggered by the drink. Sandra turns on the man in fury, and Daniel tries helplessly to calm his sister down. They quickly pull over to help her.
Imbécil, no sé para qué le das ese jugo.
Yo no sabía.
Roberto, suddenly remembering the inhaler Camilla gave him, reaches for his chest pocket. He finds it, but in his rush, it slips from his hands and falls. Then, by clumsiness, he steps on it. The inhaler cracks apart on the pavement, splitting into two pieces.
¿Viste, Roberto? Saca el de repuesto, Daniel.
They keep driving, and Camilla's asthma worsens. But then, without warning, a loud explosion echoes from somewhere in the distance. With no time to think, they turn the car around, hoping to find help. Meanwhile, Roberto becomes more disoriented. He's certain they've passed the same gas station and road sign more than once. When they arrive at the station again, it's empty. No one is there.
Hola? Hola, necesito ayuda.
They get back on the road, trying their best to keep Camilla calm. Soon, the boy notices something strange. The time on the dashboard reads 7:20, yet the sun still hangs high in the sky.
Miren, miren, miren.
When the same sign appears again, Roberto can't take it anymore. He pulls the car over and gets out.
¡Otra vez!
Sandra and Daniel stare at him in disbelief as he says he's going to look for help on foot. Overwhelmed by fear and desperation, Sandra climbs into the driver's seat and starts the car. Daniel, alarmed, quickly reminds her that she doesn't have a license, but she starts driving anyways.
Mamá, ya no sigas, por favor, ya no tienes pulso.
Despite the shouting, the slaps to her own face, and the desperate mantra, nothing changes. The same stretch of road keeps repeating, like they're stuck in some kind of broken loop. Daniel watches her unravel from the back seat, powerless to stop her, as his sister lies beside him, slipping deeper into unconsciousness. Eventually, Daniel decides he can't just sit there anymore. He opens the door, gently pulls his sister out, and carries her away from the car. Sandra doesn't even react. She just keeps driving, stuck in her panic, circling the same endless road until she breaks down. Finally, she returns to the gas station and collapses on the ground, curling into herself.
¿Por qué no puedo despertar? ¿Por qué no puedo despertar?
On the roadside, Daniel lies next to his sister, who remains completely still. As he's about to rest beside her, he notices a patch of red far down the road. Someone approaching. It's Roberto. Since the strange events began, the sun has refused to set. Time has stopped obeying. Back where it all started, the stairwell walls are now covered in black ink markings, one for each day they've spent trapped in this unnatural loop. And by now, the last line reads 35 years since the incident. Meanwhile, back in the endless staircase, Marco and Oliver are now much older. Oliver is sitting on the floor eating a packed noodle while Marco runs up and down the stairs. Oliver has aged fine, but Marco can't even walk. He crawls to climb up the stairs. They've turned the staircase into a layered home. One floor is used solely to store items. Another level holds a makeshift shower cobbled together with plastic water bottles. Marco goes there to wash up. Oliver and Marco have found different ways to deal with their isolation. Oliver spends his days running up and down the steps, using the endless staircase as a treadmill to keep his body moving. Marco, on the other hand, turns inward, keeping his mind active, trapped in thought, theory, and memory, trying to piece together a logic. Fortunately for them, the loop that traps them also provides their supplies, which replenish themselves with every reset. Snacks reappear in the vending machine, and Carlos's backpack restocks again and again, overflowing with duplicate items like books, red and black markers, spools of thread, nail clippers, MP3 players, and headsets. The years have deepened the strange bond between the two men. Oliver often talks to Marco while training, asking about his wife and children during strength routines. One of his daily exercises now includes physically carrying Marco up and down the stairs, since Marco lost the ability to walk long ago. Across the city, the same thing is happening on the road. The looping highway is in shambles, littered with broken liquor bottles, half-eaten bags of snacks, and a car draped in filthy clothing. Roberto is now old and an alcoholic. He gets out of the car wearing a worn-out cloth. After peeing, he goes back to the car and keeps driving aimlessly, knowing there is no destination. Farther away, Daniel, now grown into a quiet, solitary man, has made a life of his own among the open land. He's built a shelter from old jumpsuits and fashioned a working kitchen from salvaged tools. He cooks meals from cactus and collects water from the repeating cycle that sustains them. After cooking his meal, he takes it up the mountain. He quietly eats his meal while looking at the beautiful view. He then opens his backpack and takes out an inhaler. He then throws it to the growing mound of inhalers, all the same. Every loop has left him with another one. He then starts his journey back to his shelter. Lying on the ground, he takes out cards and starts playing, keeping himself busy.
Derry Cosis.
Roberto drives to the gas station. Sandra's in the car. Her nails are grown and completely detached from reality. Roberto walks into the gas station and picks up alcohol. He takes Sandra out to use the bathroom and carries her back to the car. While driving, Roberto notices Camilla's doll on the ground and picks it up. He takes it away to put it on the side of the road. On his way back to his shelter, Daniel finds the doll. He then spots Roberto leaning against the old car, a drink in his hand. He walks up to him and asks why he calls him. Roberto tells him that he and Sandra found the doll on the road. Daniel bluntly asks who Sandra is with no recollection of his mother.
¿Quién es?
Sandra y yo.
Sandra.
Roberto begins to speak, but his words falter. He wanted to say something important, but he couldn't. He blames it on age, muttering.
Pero no me acuerdo que. Así somos los viejos, Daniel.
At that exact moment, far away in the stairwell, Marco, lying still and repeating the name Daniel over and over, murmurs those same words Roberto said. That's how old we are, Daniel. And then something shifts inside him. He suddenly shouts out for Oliver. From several levels up, Oliver groans in annoyance, yelling back that it's 3 in the morning, according to his watch. Still, curiosity wins over fatigue, and he makes his way down the stairs to check. Unlike the man by the car, whose memory has faded into pieces, Marco remembers everything, and it's crushing him. He tells Oliver that he'll leave this world once he shares the truth, but Oliver finds that idea ridiculous and starts heading back to sleep.
Oliver, llévame al mural.
Before he can go, Marco asks him to take him to the mural. The mural, sprawled across one wall of the stairwell, does more than count the days. It's become a sacred space filled with fragments of Marco's life, drawings and notes about his wife, his daughters, birthdays, and anniversaries. But now, standing before it, Marco sees through it all. He understands finally that none of it is real, not the details, not the identity he believed was his.
Marco Antonio Molina no existe.
He keeps shouting that he is Daniel, suddenly grabbing a marker and furiously scratching out every piece of the mural.
No existe! Fabiola, no existe!
He confesses that the time loop is no accident. It began with him. Carlos, he says, was a necessary sacrifice, a life exchange to reset the cycle again and again. Oliver looks at him with confusion as Marco keeps blabbering what seems like nonsense.
Es porque maté a tu hermano! Soy Daniel!
Meanwhile, back in the car, Sandra passed away. Roberto stops Daniel as he was walking on the street. They go to the side to dig a grave for her. As Roberto is digging, he starts talking about Sandra. Last time she spoke was 20 years ago. He gets overwhelmed quickly and collapses on the ground, screaming in pain. At the same time, Marco also collapses. The two old men, Roberto and Marco, began telling a story to the two young men, Daniel and Oliver, respectively. Roberto's story goes back to when he was only 10. His name was not Roberto, it was Ruben. On a school field trip, he and his friend Juan had missed their canoe. An instructor trying to help offered them a ride on a bamboo raft, but something went horribly wrong. The instructor had an accident, and when he fell, he pushed Juan.
Causó un incidente.
The instructor survived, but Juan was bleeding heavily, and after 3 days, he passed away. Roberto and the instructor were left alone in the raft, and for 35 years, they were stuck in a loop without reaching the land. They sailed the same lake again and again.
35 años avanzando sin pisar.
Until one day, the instructor was about to die, and he told Roberto how to get to land. He told him about another place where time didn't move right, an eternal train. The instructor had lived there for 35 years, traveling on a train that never stopped. Before dying, he warned him about something specific, not to ever enter the patrol truck.
Me advirtió que no entrara a la patrulla.
Roberto was caught in 2 loops, one on the raft with the instructor and one with Daniel on the road.
Y 35 años.
Aquí.
Contigo.
Marco is also telling the same story from his side. He is Daniel and reveals that they are living in an alternate version of reality. The real Marco and Oliver are living in another place that is real.
Que tú y yo somos la maquinaria del mundo.
They are stuck in this loop to move physically and emotionally so that they can generate energy for the real world.
Se toman mejor estos 35 años.
He keeps blabbering the same thing. When caught in strange or tragic events, younger people tend to cope more easily than older ones. They adjust quicker and often find ways to move forward. In contrast, older individuals with years of memories and regrets struggle more deeply. This reflects real life too. Youth often brings more moments of joy and opportunity, while age can bring heavier burdens and greater loss.
La gente joven siempre es más feliz.
Both men give warnings to write who they are, to never enter the patrol car, and to never enter the elevator. After that, both men passed away. Daniel finds a red notebook in Roberto's hand, and Oliver also finds the same notebook in Marco's hand. Oliver keeps walking on the stairs while Daniel walks on the street. Daniel stumbles upon a patrol car and reaches for the handle to open the door, but hesitates. Both men keep living their lives. Daniel burned his shelter and finally decided to get into the patrol car. Meanwhile, Oliver is unraveling. He starts writing on the wall, he tears the pages of the book he reads, and finally he decides to end his life and pulls out Marco's gun. But he didn't go through with it. He then finally walks to the elevator and gets in. Inside, he finds a uniform. At the same time, Daniel finds a police badge, a gun, and a notebook inside the patrol car. Daniel picks up a notebook and sees a picture of Oliver and Carlos. Oliver also picks up a notebook and sees a picture of a newly wedded husband and wife. Both men cleaned up and put on their clothes. Daniel becomes Marco and sets out to arrest Oliver and Carlos, while Oliver becomes the Russian Carl who operates an elevator. In the elevator, the newlywed couple gets in. Oliver follows them out and releases a bee. The bee stings the man. The bride rushes to help her husband because he is allergic to bees. But suddenly, a large explosion happens. The bride asks Oliver to help, but he stands there without doing anything. This means the groom will die, and he and the bride will be caught in a new dimension for 35 years.